After watching this video, you're going to have a much deeper understanding of the art of boundaries, meaning you'll understand why boundaries are important. It will provide a level of insight and will really inform how you hold boundaries and structure with your young person. So let me start with a story. I used to live in Durango, Colorado. And outside of Durango, there were lots of ranches and farms. And I would have about a 2-hour commute out to the field area and the wilderness where I worked with young people for about 14 years. And it was pretty common to drive past big pastures of land with cows and buffalo and sheep and all these different animals. It was often kind of funny because they would be like a cattle drive across the highway sometimes and traffic would be stopped. And it was like, what is going on? Where am I? Anyway, I got to talking to a farmer one time because I slid into a ditch in the snow. It was totally fine, but I got stuck and he pulled me out. And we were talking about his cows. And he told me about this really peculiar behavior where when cows were new to the pasture, they would follow along the fence line to make sure that they were enclosed. Now, I had a different perspective than he did. He was kind of like, yeah, they're looking for a hole because they want to get out. And I was like, fair enough. I also think they were probably looking for a hole, but somehow they didn't know. But my mind was on like working with young people. I was like, they're safe. They know they're safe. But how do they know they're safe? They're looking for holes, right? This is what your young person is doing. They're looking for holes. Your job is to make a good fence, metaphorically speaking, right? So meaning have a reliable, intelligent boundary system, right? The way I like to describe boundaries is that they're intelligent, they're attuned, and they're flexible. They're intelligent, meaning that they make sense. Like you have a curfew because you want to teach them the importance of getting a good night's sleep and managing their schedules so that they get up or at the right time in the morning and they just, perform that. It's attuned. The boundaries are attuned, meaning they're attuned to what their world is like. They make sense. They're sensitive to the emotional world of the young person. So for example, you may not let them take the car out one night because of some logistical reason, or maybe you don't totally trust them yet, or there's some situation. Doesn't really matter. But you're sensitive to how that boundary is going to feel when they hear it. If they really want to hang out with their friends, and you find a way to like drop them off down at the end of the block so they don't have to get dropped off by mom and dad and be embarrassed, right? So they're attuned, and they're also flexible, meaning as young people get older, the boundaries should hopefully get looser. Because one of your primary jobs, if not my view, the primary job that you have, is to ensure a successful transition to more and more independence. We want them to be more and more independent. And that's one of the ways that boundaries should really serve your children, your kids, right? So young people are not cows, obviously, right? And so there's a nuance to this boundary around safety holding that the fence provides for cows, right? So one thing is that I've seen boundaries really go awry for families is when parents hold boundaries to make themselves feel good. Meaning, are the boundaries really about your kid or are they about you? Like, are you holding boundaries because you want to feel safe and you're scared about what they might do if you don't hold the boundary? And there's actually objective data to show that they deserve a shot at like having a larger boundary or more independence? And is it more about your control or your fear that's really about you and maybe your personality and your upbringing, or is it about them? That's a very important question to ask yourself and even your co-parent or your spouse or your partner. Is this really about them or is this about us? Yeah, because your kids will know the difference. They are bright, intelligent, and often more emotionally attuned than we are as adults sometimes because they haven't become callous through being hurt in their adult lives. They still have that fire of adolescence alive inside of them. Many of them do. So something that's very important to consider is this boundary about them or about you, right? Is it about me or is it about them? Is it about doing what's best for them or is it more just like, I need to do this for me? Because they'll get pissed at you if it's about you because they'll be able to feel it over time for sure, right? So secondly, is this about control or is it about care? Now this is similar to the first one that we just talked about you, is it about you or is it about them? But this is about more of the emotional place that you're coming from. Meaning, if you're doing it, let's say you're doing it for them, you're pretty clear you're doing it for them. Are you doing it out of a place of fear-based or love-based? Meaning, are you doing it from a place of care, and how you're communicating is coming from a place of care and a place of love? Or is it coming from a place of fear, of contraction, of control? Are you kind of like holding a boundary and you're able to say, you know what? I'm just not going to let you use the car tonight because I don't feel comfortable letting you have the car tonight. I just don't feel comfortable with that, right? Versus, I'm not going to let you have the car tonight. Nope, you cannot. And you're kind of bracing for a fight that's going to happen, right? You're contracted. You're not in a good place. So get to a good place within yourself, right? And approach it from a place of open-heartedness and care, and do the personal work that you need to do in order to get to that place. So 1, is it about you or is it about them? 2, is it about control or care? And thirdly, can you be rigid when you need to be rigid and flexible when you need to be flexible? So meaning, do you stick to your guns? Do you hold the boundary when you really need to, when it's appropriate, despite them feeling like heartbroken that they can't have the car in this example, or devastated that you're not giving them the level of independence that they want? Do you bend there? You probably shouldn't, right? If you're really clear about that's what's important to you and that upholds your values as a family. Or do you need to be more flexible? Are you too rigid too much of the time, right? And hopefully you have a co-parent that balances you out. A lot of times there's like a masculine and a feminine, not necessarily a male and a female, but a masculine and a feminine side of a relationship where the masculine is more rigid and the feminine is more flexible. So find a balance within each other. And hopefully with your co-parent, you have enough of an ability to have discussions where you can balance each other out there, right? So listen, you've got this. I hope this was helpful for you. Leave a comment or subscribe if you're interested in hearing more content. And all my best.